Well, thanks, Chair Peters, and thanks to you and Ranking Member Paul for holding this hearing, which is particularly timely for New Hampshire because of the Postal Service's plans to move operations from the Manchester Processing and Distribution Center to Boston over the next year. Granite Staters reach out to my office daily about delivery issues that they are experiencing. This new plan from the Postal Service could exacerbate these issues by leading to more delayed mail deliveries, delayed absentee ballots, and job losses for postal employees, and that is unacceptable. 2 years ago, we passed the Bipartisan Postal Service Reform Act to help the Postal Service achieve financial stability. In addition, Senator Collins and I worked together to help secure $10 billion in relief funds for the Postal Service during the pandemic. Congress took action to allow the Postal Service to achieve its core mission to deliver mail to every customer at least 6 days per week, but the Postal Service's current plan fundamentally lacks a commitment to service. Granite Staters and all Americans deserve a new plan for reliable, timely postal delivery. And this is true whether they live in rural or urban areas, whether they are waiting for a customer's check to come in, whether they're a grandparent waiting for a birthday card from their grandchild, or whether they are waiting for life-saving medications. So let me start with a question to you, Inspector General Hull. A few years ago, the Postal Service hired an additional 150 postal workers in New Hampshire based on an Inspector General report that I requested. I appreciate your partnership on that report and the work of your office. However, as I noted, service issues persist in New Hampshire. I'm particularly concerned that moving critical operations from Manchester to Boston will result in significant delivery delays. I'm also concerned that postal employees will face an impossible choice between commuting to Boston, and for those of you who don't know, this is ranked as one of the worst commutes in the country. You're talking about 2 hours each way for some of these employees at least to be reliably on time at work. It's one of the worst commutes in the country, and so they're going to face this choice to keep their jobs or leave the Postal Service altogether. So based on your observations, Inspector General, from previous consolidations, what can Granite Staters expect when operations move from Manchester to Boston? Specifically, what delays might customers see? And what will postal employees experience?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Hassan, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with your staff on previous opportunities. I can't speak to specifics on what will happen directly in New Hampshire, but I can tell you what we've seen so far. In Richmond, we've seen challenges, particularly in service performance, and there was a real need for a better pre-implementation kind of ground game to get the employees on board so that they can understand exactly what the changes involve and how to get them engaged in supporting the change and working through what those service changes are going to entail. As far as employees go, I don't know how many. I know a little bit about what that facility will be moved from and to, but I don't know how many of those employees will be retained at that local facility, and how many of them will actually have to make decisions that you spoke of on where to go. But I think if the Postal Service can address some of the recommendations that we made in Richmond, we're in Atlanta right now. We'll make some similar recommendations on what the challenges are, and if they can take these lessons learned and really focus on those to really before they actually implement the change instead of after and trying to recover from the service disruptions that have occurred.
Well, I appreciate that. I would also suggest that this is not necessarily about getting employees on board. It's about listening to employees. They are the experts in delivering mail. They are the experts in their states. They're the experts. They're the ones who know where a particular address is when somebody writes the wrong address on an envelope. But they are the people who know this area, and you might all start with listening to them about what they think the impacts will be on service being the paramount obligation here. To Chairman Kubeondu, Northern New Hampshire postal customers aren't served by the Manchester facility. They're served in White River Junction, Vermont. Under the Postal Service's plans, operations at the White River Junction facility also could be consolidated. So now we've got Manchester going to Boston under your plan. And here's the plan for White River Junction. It's going to Hartford, Connecticut, 150 miles away. So now we're taking 2 of the northern New England states, in the northern part of those states, and just taking out any of these processing centers. For Granite Staters in the North Country in particular, the Postal Service is a lifeline. We're still working on getting high-speed internet to them. The roads are not optimal, and cell service often isn't great. So the Postal Service remains particularly important up there, especially when you're talking about the delivery of medication and essential goods. It also connects people, and it is also a critical resource for local businesses who rely on the Postal Service because, no surprise, FedEx and UPS won't deliver up there. So the Postal Service is all we've got. So the Postal Regulatory Commission has the authority to ensure that the Postal Service meets its service obligations. How could the Postal Regulatory Commission use its authority to ensure that the Postal Service meets its service obligations, especially in rural areas like New Hampshire's North Country?
Senator, thank you for the question. I will say that the portion of the law that requires the Postal Service to consult with the Commission as it's implementing service standards is not one that has a lot of teeth. It's a requirement to consult. However, the Postal Service has the direct authority over its own operational and service strategies. As you can see, they're quite aggressive in terms of exercising their autonomy. However, there are things that the Postal Regulatory Commission can do. The part of the law that has a little bit more teeth is the advisory opinion process, in which the Commission issues an advisory opinion to the Postal Service. These are on-the-record proceedings where stakeholders can come in and lay out some of those issues that you've pointed to that will affect stakeholders. And then the Commission is able to do a deeper dive, take into account all those different positions and issue recommendations. You pointed to medications. During 2021 and 2022, the Commission issued 4 advisory opinions. We repeatedly pointed out these issues. I have to commend our staff. Our tiny staff did a tremendous job, and they identified all of the issues that we've seen, the issues with medications, lack of communication with stakeholders, frankly, over-optimistic forecasts.
Yep.
So I think that advisory opinion process does have some teeth, and a new advisory opinion might be warranted as you see this ramp up of delivering for America. We also have direct authority to approve the service measurement system. I think that's a concern, as I mentioned in my testimony, that we might be actually underestimating the delays in many cases. You hear, stories and also see the statistics heading in the wrong direction. That's something we're actually very interested in taking a look at. And I'll also say we recently opened up a docket to reconsider the rate-making system, and one of the reasons we cited was service performance. That is one of the factors that's in the law as we're conducting this proceeding.
I appreciate that, and thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chair. Again, this is about service. The Postal Service was established by our founders and is protected in the United States Constitution because it is not just any private business. It has an obligation of service that is essential to our people and to our economy. Thank you.